Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Virgo energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Pisces energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy. We have our dualistic nature in our... Virgo. In our Virgo nature, we have our dualistic nature, and we can align with our more worldly focused Virgo energy or our more high vibe Virgo energy. High vibe Virgo is, kind of willing to get out more of your ego and being more manipulated in your worldly nature to be inspired by truth and love, and also willing to learn lessons in life and kind of keep growing and healing and maturing yourself, and willing to deal with the truth and accept the truth. And again, the big component is getting out of your ego and indulging poor behavior in yourself and others. The bottom row can kind of represent our comfort zone. We all like to stay in our comfort zone. We'd all like things that we've invested in to work out the way we wanted, but sometimes they're not. So we all tap into Virgo energy also. So if you're not a Virgo sun sign and are dealing with someone who is, you might be the one harnessing high vibe Virgo. But the reason for the bottom rose reading is the privileged lady, which is like the Empress card, which is Libra, represented by the scales of justice, and Taurus. So that's kind of our philosophy of life. Some of you could be dealing with a Libra or Taurus, but in our own Libra and Taurus energy at any given moment, we have a certain philosophy of life and a way of viewing life and living life that we think is just and fair. And is it kind of just and fair for us to live our life at whatever stage of life we're at? Yes, because that's where we're at. It's how we view life. But as we learn lessons in life, up here we have the Great Fortune, which is like the Ten of Pentacles, which is Virgo energy. When we go through a phase of life, when we've kind of learned the lessons we were meant to learn from that phase of life, we're ready to give birth to the next version of ourselves. Like we shed being 15 to be 18, and we quit being more like an 18-year-old, become a 21-year-old, etc. And in high vibe Libra Taurus, you are more aligned with being inspired to want to keep growing and healing and maturing yourself, not staying in a certain phase of life more out of fear or insecurity or codependency or immaturity. You're motivated in your own Virgo nature within yourself to deal with the truth. And the truth is, I should grow and heal and mature myself over time. If I see that my life has gotten out of balance, well, then I don't feel balanced within myself. And that's what the bottom row can represent. We start things, but as we move forward in things, if we keep staying in it too long, and that can be kind of the Ten of Pentacles, where it's like, okay, I've kind of learned everything I needed to learn here, but we're afraid of becoming independent of it. After the, like, Ten of Pentacles would be the Page of Pentacles, that you're a student of life. Okay, I've kind of completed that life class. I've learned a lot of lessons at that season of my life, and I can keep staying there, but I might do it more because I certainly could love those things. The Empress can be about love, but am I letting some things that I love stop me kind of from growing to my full potential? Is it more out of maybe living more from my mind than my heart? Because Libra's air sign energy, Taurus energy, earth sign energy, like Virgo. Is it because I'm, these things of the world that I want more manipulate me, and it's stopping me from maybe listening to my intuition, being more independent, knowing my worth and value? So let's go look at the bottom row. We have the Poverty card, the Courtship, the Mature Man, and the Concern card. Well, for one, I view the masculine figures when we go take action in the world is considered masculine energy. So we and everybody else can go present ourselves in the world in certain ways. And in our worldly nature, the masculine cards can kind of represent us operating, how we're influenced by our more worldly egoic nature of these things of the world. The Empress can talk about things we want to give birth to, things we want to manifest. Um, we can always move forward in things. And we all have some of our own fears and insecurities. The poverty card is like the Five of Pentacles, which is Taurus energy. That, it's scary to move forward in life differently. We've kind of maybe detached from one phase of life to move forward in life differently. So we can all have those fears, and we all have our shadow nature with us at any given moment, even if you're moving forward in a more high vibrational way, right? So it can be a little scary, but if we're loving and encouraging to ourselves, we align with in the courtship card, which is kind of Cancer energy and aligning with hope and faith and love in ourselves. We keep offering our self love to be like a good mother, father, coach voice to ourselves. That we're going to stand up for our more emotionally intuitive, loving nature and our truth and what we think is just and fair. And we might have concern if just some of the other people in our life are going to do that at any time that we're moving forward in our life. Some other people could feel that same way with their friends, their family, their romantic interests, people who are in a relationship with you. Are you going to keep loving and believing in yourself and maintaining Libra, represented by the scales of justice, can talk about maintaining balance within yourself. The Two of Cups can talk about maintaining balance within yourself. Just like you can have that concern about people in your life, those people in turn could have concern. Are you going to keep doing that? Because we can love each other. And we hope that everybody kind of works through any sense of lack of self-worth, or because some things in our life with people in our life maybe haven't, with some of the people in our life haven't worked out the way we wanted, that we can feel a little out in the cold and a little sad. And so, we can hope everybody does that within themselves. Some people we could be in friendship and relationship with, we could be offering them love and encouragement. And some of the people we've already been in relationships with, and some of those people maybe haven't learned how to offer love to themselves. They could, in shadowy energy, we can invest in Virgo energy, can talk about things that we invest our time, energy, and effort into. Some people could be more influenced by being more about themselves, operating more from their ego, to go look to other things other than truth and love and trying to maintain balance within themselves and uh, temper their own fears and insecurities. And instead, they could take action that, really isn't conducive to friendships and relationships moving forward in a more just and fair and balanced way, because they kind of, in shadowy energy, it's kind of like they're a bad parent to themselves. They kind of indulge their more, and the bottom row can represent our more immature nature. And if we feel kind of left out in the cold, and maybe, being codependent on someone, well, you're the person who's supposed to make me feel better, and you're not making me feel better. You're not making your life more about me. And you're like, well, I'm living my life and maintaining balance. And, you need to learn to live your life and maintain balance within your own self, to not be in a more codependent relationship. But some people like to be in a more codependent relationship. I want you to kind of feel left out in the cold, get in a friendship or relationship with me, or I'm your child, or you're my parent. You know, all these things can happen in all these different types of relationships. And I'm kind of in my ego about giving birth to anything new. So I want to keep doing this. And then I want you to keep doing that. Well, what if some people, are kind of ready to give birth to something new, close out one cycle, just like with say, for example, parents and children, um, the child might want to be more independent. They're an adult now. And it's like, quit hovering over me, quit telling me what to do. you know, you were loving and encouraging, hopefully, to me for me to learn to spread my own wings and fly. Let me go live my life. We can still have a relationship, but the relationship is not the same dynamic that it was before. I'm not as codependent on you. I've kind of grown and matured myself. And when children can be at that stage, they can just kind of have those fears too of just becoming more independent, but they probably want to become more independent and go to that next phase of life. But then there can be, just like children can feel that way towards parents, let me go live my more independent life. Sometimes children, even though they're adults, don't want their parents to go live their more independent life. I liked it when you made it more about me and you going and kind of going to the next phase of life because they're like 25 or 45 or whatever age they are. They kind of liked it when you kind of made them the center focus of your life and you didn't kind of have a life of your own. And it's like, honey, that phase of life is over. Am I still your mother? Am I still your parent? Do I still have love for you? Yes. But I also want to give birth to new things. That was a phase of life which I enjoyed, which we still have a relationship, but the relationship dynamic has changed now. It's not going to be the same as when you were like 8 or 15. So those things can kind of go back and forth. But even in romantic relationships, we can be in friendships with people and we could have gotten in a friendship with them and we could have gotten in a friendship together because some other friendship didn't work out. We had some situations in our life. We were looking for a friend and we became friends. And it could have seemed like, and it could have been kind of a loving and encouraging and supportive relationship. But then one of the people in the friendship sometimes doesn't want to move forward in the relationship differently. And they kind of like playing that role. And we can have romantic partners who like to play that role in our life. And they don't really like it when, well, you kind of healed and grew and matured yourself. You're kind of ready to move forward differently, maybe in a more balanced relationship. And they kind of liked it maybe when other people didn't love and believe in themselves. Well, I like playing that role in people's life. And then if you're ready to move forward in life differently and have a more, a different type of relationship because you're not the same person you were at whatever age and stage of life you could have gotten in a friendship with someone or a relationship, and they're like, but I want to keep doing this. I want to do that. Because then that requires them to also kind of work through some of their issues that make them prefer that kind of relationship dynamic. And some of them are like, you can go, I'll go find someone and repeat this pattern. And we'll all repeat certain patterns over and over until we kind of learn the lesson we're meant to learn. And some people never get over their lack mentality. So they're always looking for other people who are in lack mentality. Some people are more codependent. They're looking to be in a relationship with other people who are more codependent. Some people could be more inspired by a more shadowy Libra, Taurus, um, Virgo view of life can be, we should make our life more about these things of the world. That's why we should get in a friendship. That's why we should get in a relationship. That's why we should get married. It's more for these reasons of the world that we want friendship, we want relationship, we want to be married, we want to create a family. Well, sure, everybody can want those things, but they're so kind of more tipped in favor of that's kind of their driving reason for being in it. But if it's a romantic relationship, high vibe Virgo, Libra, and Taurus, is it supposed to be about love? But there's some people, the Five of Pentacles can be, in my free will nature, I'm just more about me or these things of the world. And the two Five of Pentacles would make the Ten of Pentacles, where, yes, I want some of these things of the world, but I equally want balance in my life. And I want just, fair, authentic, loving, authentic relationships too. And some people are like, that? No. That's not my truth. I'm more about me. I'm more about the world. Some people are looking for someone to play like a mother father role in their life. They don't want to have to grow up and mature themselves, kind of looking for someone to indulge them like a parent would a child. Um, some people don't want to get more balanced within themselves, and because that could require them to quit living more from their egoic nature, which can be defensive, to their intuitive loving nature out of like a self-protection. I don't want to connect in more with my emotions. We are these emotionally complex human beings, and some people find it confusing and they don't want to deal with it. So then they could want to use their, and that's shadowy energy, where you just kind of use your emotions, your charm, your looks, your sexuality, your status, your power, whatever, in a more manipulative way in order to get people to be in a relationship with you and stay in a relationship. But they could prefer, I don't want, some people don't want to be just and fair. Some people don't want to act with character and integrity. Some people want to look like they walk the talk, but not really have to walk the talk. Want to be in relationships with people who will help them create the illusion that they're a more just, fair, stable, grounded, emotionally mature, balanced, loving person than they really are. And for some people, that can be why they could even get in a different job, friendship, or relationship, is to try to create that illusion. Oh no, I've moved on. No, I know I did some things, but that's not who I am anymore. Nope. Look at me. I'm more just, fair, balanced, stable, and mature than I was before. And shadowy energy can be all about living more from the mind than the heart to try to create this illusion, try to give birth to trying to create the illusion that they're more high vibrational, more mature, more stable, more authentic, more loving than they really are. And people can get in friendship or relationship with those people, or work for a supervisor, or have an environment in a work situation or a neighborhood where kind of the majority, maybe, of the people or significant people that you have to deal with, they're kind of shadowy and they justify it. They think it's just and fair. Maybe they have more power, more influence, more education, older, have a certain status or image, or they're just full of themselves and it's just all in their own head. But regardless, there can be shadowy people in the world, and then someone comes along, you know, like they do going out in the world, uh, left one job, friendship, or relationship, going out in the world to meet some people. And some of those people, if they're high vibe, you know, they're going on this looking to the future, inspired, kind of learn the lesson in the gift card of something about their past that they saw. I need to move on from this. I need to work through my fears. I need to work through my ego if I want to give birth to something new. And I saw the truth that something I had been in, or just becoming more independent of my friend group or my original family or a job. If I want to give birth to something new and those people aren't giving birth to something new, or I can't give birth to it there, I need to move forward. I need to keep pursuing my career or something, right? I need to pursue my education, so I need to go do those things. Well, they go out there in the world, they have some of these fears, just like everybody does, and they could meet some people. Again, shadowy people can try to present themselves as more high vibe people. And you could see them as these people who seem to be kind of on the same page as you. High vibe Virgo, high vibe Libra Taurus, we could have things in common. They seem to be just and fair. We like to invest our time, energy, and effort into some of the same things. We enjoy some of the same hobbies or activities. We could have similar, I don't know, viewpoints in life that, because anytime if we were to go out into a group of people, first we can kind of do it maybe a little bit on a superficial level. Like, if I I don't know. You know what I mean. You kind of see people and you kind of just kind of trying to get a feel just based on how people present themselves of who do I kind of think might be more on the same page of me and who is totally like we don't hang around the same kind of people, you know? And so we're trying to find people that, can we get along with everyone? Yeah. But, we're kind of looking for people that we could view as loving, just and fair, stable, grounded, maybe more mature than some other people we'd been around, more balanced, more loving than some other people we'd been around at some point in our time, or we're both kind of trying to move forward, just like when you're a new person at work, or like when if you went to college, you're looking for people who are kind of, you think anyway, are kind of on the same journey you're on. And so then you can get in relationship with those people. And those people could seem like a gift. And in a way, it is. Just not all of them work out the way that we want. But we do come in contact with all these different people. And I kind of view the concern card as the King of Swords, and then which is Libra energy, and then this over here is Libra and Taurus, about our philosophy of life and our truth. We come in contact with all these people and we can be drawn and attracted to all these different people because it's all part of this journey for us in our high vibe Virgo to get more and more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't, and what we view as just and fair, and um, again, kind of in our philosophy of life, you could look at the Ten of Pentacles like kind of making a cookie mix of my life, what I want it to look like. I want a sprinkle of this, a scoop of that, 2 pinches of that, 2 scoops of that, and everybody else has their mix. And, sometimes, we could be in relationships with people, and could we have been a blessing to each other at some point in time in our life? With these different people in our life, could we have been a blessing in their life to some degree, and they could have been a blessing in our life? Yeah, we could have been loving and encouraging people to each other during a time when, we were needing some loving and encouraging people, or we needed a job and they gave us a job. But, and with some of the people, it works out fine and we could stay in friendship or relationship with them for a long time. But with some of the people in our life that we could get in friendship or relationship with, again, they could be people who are more in their free will nature. Their truth is they're kind of maybe more about conforming to the world, maybe living more from their mind than their heart, wanting to be in a relationship more so they can be in a relationship, but and of course it might be someone that hopefully they're at least attracted to and like and have these commonalities with. But some people are never going to do love. I get hurt doing love. That's not my truth. And the people that are more defensive to love, because the King of Swords can be like their self-protective defensive nature. I turn my back in high vibe. The Empress talks about love. And love requires that if you're going to be in it, it be because of love. And some people are like, I want to be in it. And I can be just and fair and be, not act in a more immature or whatever way, but I'm just not willing to really do love. I'll quack like love, talk like love, act like love, enjoy being in the relationship with you, but I'm not really going to ever let myself more emotionally invest in this relationship. And that can be a problem because the relationship can always only go so far. And if the high vibe people are offering the gift of love and they are in that more hopeful, believing, loving spirit, they are coming out from behind their defensive, egoic nature to do love. They could feel like they're in a relationship with someone where it's almost more like a job, and it's almost like mentally calculated. Oh, act this way, smile at this, frown at that, sympathize with this. It's just more mechanical and strategic. If you're motivated and inspired by love, it doesn't mean you're ooey gooey with everyone, but the people in your life that you are in relationship, you freely give of yourself. You like giving to them. You love them. And for some people, though, if they don't want to invest too much of themselves in someone, because that kind of puts them in the danger zone, it can feel a little bit more. Well, I guess if you've been in it, you know what it feels like. I'm at a loss for words of how to describe it. But, some of the people, and they could have a big fear of being, maybe they have an abandonment issue, because other friendships or relationships didn't work out. Why everybody could have had friendships and relationships that didn't work out, where they, felt rejected, felt left out in the cold. Some people are very prideful and egotistical. Like if a relationship doesn't work out, it's automatically, that's a negative reflection on me. It's like, well, why would you think it's necessarily a negative reflection on you? Well, if you act or behave in certain ways, the choice is there to grow and mature those aspects of yourself. That's what some other people did. Everybody could have been in friendships or relationships with people who didn't want to stay in a friendship or relationship with them because they were kind of immature in some ways. Weren't just, weren't fair. Whatever else it could have been. Bossy, controlling, immature, and other people are like, you need to grow up, And some people did that. I do need to grow up. I need to, whatever it could be. Other people kind of did that work within themselves. Well, why don't some of the other people? Well, Virgo is earth sign energy, and the earth sign energies can talk about it takes investing time, energy, and effort. And Virgo talks about doing this inner work emotionally. And you kind of have to be willing to deal with the truth. That maybe you're not very just and fair. Maybe you're not very loving. Maybe you are kind of immature. Maybe you are kind of full of yourself or bossy or controlling or think it should be more about you or have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship or just, there has to be a willingness to even want to change, to be willing to be a student of life that, well, no, I feel like maybe I have a certain status or image in the world or whatever. Well, people can be smart in a lot of areas of their life. But again, we have the four aspects of the tarot: the heart, the mind, the 3D world, our worldly nature, and our creative, passionate nature. Some people put a lot of work and effort to maybe have a certain status image in the world, their physique, their looks, their charm, their education. Did they invest in emotionally growing and maturing themselves? And some people, they were more emotionally inspired to make their life more, maybe just choosing to live more from their mind than their heart. It's confusing. I don't want to deal with it. I don't think I need to. I think I know enough. I think I can get along with people. But then they get in relationships with people and they could kind of do some things that are kind of emotionally immature. So say someone's 45, but they kind of have the emotional maturity level still of kind of like a 21 to 25-year-old. And they try to get in a relationship with someone who's like 45, who's kind of learned some of those lessons in life. And then they kind of do some things, and shadowy energy can be where instead of people being truthful and authentic and offering love to the situation and able to maintain balance within themselves and self-discipline and kind of act with character and integrity, they kind of indulge their more immature nature and is trying to maybe manipulate and control people. Well, some people who have lived enough life and they've already been there and done that back when they were 25 years old in relationships, they don't want to be in a relationship with someone at age 45 who's doing some of that same shit. It's like, oh my God, this is like, the difference between the 10 and the 5 is like 5 significant life lessons that some people have not learned. And I was like, I do not expect to go back to being in a relationship and dealing with some of the same bullshit that I dealt with when I was 25, hanging out with people. You know, if you haven't learned these lessons, and we could say that with anybody in our life, you know, at a certain age and stage of life, most people would kind of expect that some people have learned some of these lessons in life, kind of tempered their ego, grown and matured themselves, kind of been enlightened to the truth about how to work together with people in a more just and fair way. But there's always those people who, but I don't want to change. I indulge my more immature nature, and I'm looking for someone else to indulge me in that way. It's like, well, good luck, but it's not going to be at this job or with me in a friendship or relationship. They could have people tell them. And then they're worried about it because other people aren't willing to indulge them like they indulge themselves. Other people don't think it's just and fair the way they might decide to act or behave that they think is just and fair. Or other people in their life have indulged them and let them kind of get away with it. And they're looking for other people to do that. And, when other people kind of love and believe in themselves enough and could have grown and healed and matured themselves, I don't want to be in a more codependent relationship, a more imbalanced relationship. I want a more just and fair relationship. And they would probably tell those people, I love you. I would like to move this relationship forward, but it has to be more just and fair. I don't want to keep repeating this pattern. I have a dream of it being more stable, more grounded, there to be more self awareness and self insight and maturity. And I'd like to close out this cycle and move forward to the next cycle. But, we got to close out this one to work through this one to even get to the next one. And the other people are already ready to go to the next one. But some people have been being held back because, again, it can be difficult because we love some people. But we can offer people in high vibe energy, we can offer people truth and love. And then it's up to those people in their free will to decide, are they willing to align with that energy within themselves so it's not always being codependent on someone else outside of them to be that person in their life, for them to do that within ourselves. We all need to grow up to be our own best mother, father, coach voice instead of staying more codependent, always looking for someone else to play that role in our life. If we don't want to keep getting in these more codependent relationships, being in relationships with people who want to act like they're our parent, it's like, I'm an adult, thank you. I do not need you to play the role of a parent to me. You are not my parent. You are my friend or my romantic interest. Can you share some of your wisdom and insight? But I should be respected as my own individual. You know, I'm not more, if I'm not, it's one thing to tell people, I kind of think you're acting immature. I think you're being stubborn. I think you're being prideful. That's one thing. But for some people, it's like, oh no, you want to go do that? You want to go give birth to that? You want to go invest time and energy into that? Oh no, I don't think you should do that. It's like, what? Who are you? If I'm not doing something and high vibe energy isn't trying to hurt anyone or deceive anyone or manipulate anyone, I'm just my own person with my own dreams and aspirations, my own unique talent, skills, and interests that I want to invest time, energy, and effort into. Oh no, I don't think you should do that. I think you should maybe just follow my lead or do what I do or invest your time, energy, and effort into what I do. Or better yet, just make your life all more about me and kind of give up your own dreams and aspirations. It's like, and that could be a way of viewing life and relationships or marriage that people had. And in our Taurus philosophy of life, we have these ways of viewing life and viewing relationships or marriages because of the family we grew up in, the community we grew up in, the town, the city, the state, the country we grew up in, or our religious belief systems. Taurus can kind of talk about all those things. And eventually, high vibe energy is more like, you know what? I can be more manipulated in my loving nature by people who want to try to use that to try to manipulate me, which I don't think is just and fair. Um, I can love people who like to play maybe the victim. Well, I'm going to offer them love and encouragement, and if they aren't inspired within themselves, it's like giving to a black void. Nothing's going to change. And high vibe energy is about being a leader, a good leader in the world, you know? It's kind of like the saying, I taught you how to fish, now you need to go fish. And they're like, mm, couldn't you go fish for me? It's like, no, I've taught you how to fish. If you're not inspired within yourself, this wasn't my idea, the dream life, to every day kind of go fishing for you, to be your loving and encouraging person in your life. Do I mind being a loving and encouraging person? No, but not to the extent you want me to. It's kind of like some people hold out their cup of love, fill my cup of love. And then you fill up their cup and they tip it out and they say, fill up my cup of love. And then they tip it out, or they poke holes in the bottom. Oh, you need to fill me up again. It's more sometimes because they don't want things to change. They don't want to step outside their comfort zone. They're looking for other people to come do this with them because they don't have an interest in changing. I like this. I want to keep doing that. It's like, and with some people, it's like, well, I wish you peace. I hope that works out for you, but I have maybe tried to fill your cup enough, and you don't seem to be inspired. Again, maybe being more caught up in themselves, more caught up in the world, uh, don't know how to love themselves, are imbalanced, want to stay in balance, don't want to be more just and fair, don't want to do love. And eventually, some other people, out of love for themselves, realize their dream isn't ever going to come into reality with them. Not in a more balanced, abundant way, equally abundant, maybe in the worldly nature, and the Empress can talk about it, and Taurus energy can talk about it. In a lot of ways, it could have a lot of these things of the world that we want. And some people count on that for it to manipulate us in our more worldly nature, or because we have love for them. And high vibe people want a more balanced, abundant maybe in some of these things of the world, but also equally abundant in truth and love and justice and fairness and authenticity. And where people are willing to get out of their defensive nature or immature nature or egoic nature to be willing to change also. But some people, they don't want to change. And again, that's fine. They have a way of living life that could make them feel stable and grounded and balanced within themselves. Just like any of us at any time, at different points in our life, we could have been more bold and brave and confident to do certain things in our life. And if someone had tried to push us out on the stage of our life to perform and we weren't ready for it, it would have been very destabilizing, kind of. We weren't ready. And so everybody's on their journey. And that's what the high vibe people come to. If I love someone, they have the free will to live their life the way they want. And if they have a way of living life, and even if I feel like they could have things within them and outside of them that really manipulate them, if they're okay with it, they're okay with it. They have to make that decision on their own. To the Five of Pentacles moves away from the Four of Pentacles, some foundational way of living life or viewing life that they wanted to hold on to. And for some of them, it's, I don't want to open up. That opens me up to, I don't want to open up to love because I'm afraid of love, you know? And for some people, some people have more experience at picking themselves up when things don't work out the way they want. Um, they know how to love themselves and kind of pick themselves back up again. Other people, again, maybe a little more codependent, which we've maybe all been there at times, depending on what kind of relationships people have been in at different ages in their life. Yeah, it can kind of devastate your life and your world, and it just, you know, it's kind of like learning how to ride a bike, tipping over, picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, getting back on the bike, you know? And that can take some practice. And for some people who've never even let themselves more authentically go out to play in the world emotionally, it can be much more devastating for them in a way because they don't have that practice. And then some people could just be very prideful. Like, it's almost like they want assurance, and some people will get in relationships, male or female, with people who they think don't love them, believe in themselves. Kind of like, you're not going anywhere, right? You won't become more independent. You'll stay more codependent, right? Or you're also more about the world and the ego and the image. And if I have those things, male or female, or attractiveness, or whatever they think they got to entice people to get in a relationship with them, or if I give you enough sex, whatever people think they got to offer, you'll stay in a relationship with me, right? Because I don't want anybody to ever leave me. Well, if it's more their fear that influences the decisions they make, but they want to maybe look like they have justice in the world, like they have what other people have, they might know that they try to control people, manipulate people, try to find people who feel unstable, ungrounded, haven't learned to love themselves, caught up in whatever they're caught up in that they could be caught up in, just wanting to look like they have justice in the world, but they didn't really get justice. They got like a worldly justice. What is our truth and what do we want to manifest? Some people are like, I'm willing to settle for the illusion, or I'm willing to make my life more about these things of the world, and I can tell people what a great life I have because I'm living the dream and I get to do this and I do that and I indulge in it to this extent, or I made my life all about me and it always has to be about me, and any relationship I'm in is just about me, what a great life I have, or all the money or status or image or power that they have. Well, if that's probably what they're going to manifest then. If other people want to give birth to something different than that, yeah, no, they don't want to do that. And so other people kind of see the truth of it. Your truth is different. I want to manifest something different than what you want to manifest. And so then those people had to work through, they don't want to repeat that pattern. And there's always going to be people in the world that can be more just the next shadowy person who wants to be in a friendship or relationship with you. And people can wear really good false masks. People can look very stable, very grounded, very mature, successful. But who are they really emotionally? And so, as some people who've learned these lessons from these life experiences, other people don't know they've learned those lessons. And so other people who are still more about themselves think it's just and fair to be in a relationship, for a romantic relationship, for these other reasons, could think that maybe you'd be willing to get in a relationship for those reasons. Or that they think it's just and fair to try to manipulate people, be deceptive and manipulative. What they don't know is that you've already dealt with people like that. And some of them right now might be wondering, well, that person, if they're out in the world seeming to want to look to be in friendship relationship with someone, they could be here thinking like, I'm offering this person something. But the high vibe people are kind of listening to their intuition, willing to move forward with people and like get to know them. But I'm not going to, you kind of stay in the friend zone, and I'm not going to more emotionally invest in you any more than I would anyone else. And some people could be like, well, why isn't that person investing in me? I seem to present myself in this certain way. And it's like, yeah, and that's what the other high vibe people are kind of just paying attention to. Do you seem to be a little full of yourself? Do you seem to be operating more from your ego, or thinking people should want to indulge you for some reason of some trait or characteristic or power influence that you have? Well, I'm going to treat you like I treat anyone else because you're just a human being and you're either just and fair and loving, and I'll find that out eventually, or you're shadowy and I'll find that out eventually. But the high vibe people kind of looked at, did that Virgo work to figure out what it was within them that drew and attracted them to getting in relationships with certain people and staying in those relationships for as long as they did, because they don't want to do it again. And as long as they align with those energies in a more worldly way, they could get in relationship with other people to some degree that kind of makes them compatible in that way. So they did the work to detach from it. And what some of the former people in their life don't know is that some of the people who moved on from them aren't the same person that they are. They changed. They worked through their fears, their insecurities, learned how to love themselves, got more balance within themselves, and they don't harness those energies in a more worldly, shadowy way anymore. What are they? The Despair card in reverse and the House in reverse. So before, those cards could have been in the upright, which, you know, again, in the Despair card is kind of like the poverty card, that we're just sad that we were moving forward in life, but again, maybe we just hadn't learned to love ourselves. The House card is like the Four of Wands, which is Aries energy, which is about the self. We could have not had some things within us that we hadn't dealt with. That was kind of a wound. And if we have kind of an unresolved wound that kind of we're in our ego about, that we might not even realize, maybe a mother wound, maybe a father wound, we can be kind of drawn, and even other relationship wounds, we can kind of be drawn and attracted to people who have some of the same traits and characteristics, because we're kind of in our ego and we wanted it to work out the way we wanted it to work out, and we couldn't make it work out with those people. But then we can kind of keep getting in relationships that have some of those same traits and characteristics to try to change them. I'm a loving person. I'm this just and fair, mature person. I want justice this time. I want you to love me. And I want it to work out the way I wanted it to work out. And we can get in relationships with people and keep repeating that pattern until we kind of get to that point. If I'm being a just and fair and loving and encouraging person to someone, why do I keep getting, though, in relationships with people who maybe aren't that, and trying to change them? And it's kind of doing that inner work to work through some of that past pain and heartbreak. I don't need people to have certain ways of being or to change. I accept that everybody is where they're at, everybody feels the way they feel, thinks the way they think. They got their own past pain and heartbreak or whatever that makes them act the way they act. And I've learned how to love myself and give myself the things that I wish other people would have given me. And I realize now I don't want to be in a relationship with people like that. I've done it enough times that I worked through it. And in the process, and from being in those relationships, I learned how to love myself. And if it was just some people, we realized that they liked a certain kind of relationship dynamic. And when we weren't kind of that in that more shadowy energy anymore, then they didn't want to be in a relationship with us and they wanted to go find someone else back in that more shadowy energy. You know, I'm going to accept the good things about it and accept that everybody has the free will to live their life the way they want. Our truth is now different, and they can invest in their truth. I'm going to go invest in my truth. And by offering love to it and truth to it, and, you know, sometimes it can be that some people can leave with a clear conscience. I feel like I did everything I could. What more can I do than offer to work together with people in a just and fair and loving way? And if that's not the kind of relationship they want to be in, then I'm sorry and I'm sad that you don't, but I'm not going to keep staying upset and sad about it. I'm going to go find people in the world who do want to work together in that way. And so you're accepting that gift. We have the free will to align with high vibe Virgo, high vibe Libra, high vibe Taurus, to walk our talk, invest in our truth, stand up for what we believe in is just and fair. We can stay in an energy of love towards other people, but I'm going to be focusing on moving forward in what I think is more aligned with my truth. And they can go invest in what they think is more aligned with their truth. And, you know, it can take a lot of work and effort because emotionally we could have these concerns about other people in our life, but you know, we've all had to learn some lessons the hard way, and some people in our life that we could be concerned about. Again, whether it's your adult child, brother, sister, mom, dad, friend, family, you know, everybody has the free will to make their decisions, and everybody will learn lessons from those experiences, just like we have. And we can wish people peace and love. Let's ask, what is this message of concern up here? Maybe it's even accepting that cup of love to work through your own concerns about high vibe Virgo in like the 9 and 10 of Pentacles is becoming independent of something. The King of Wands. Why? Because of the High Priestess. The King of Wands can be, you know, the High Priestess can be about listening to our intuition and love, because the High Priestess is like Cancer and Pisces energy. Pisces can talk about our dreams and our intuition, and Cancer talks about love of ourself and love of others. And, you know, taking that more inspired action to let love and intuition guide you when kind of in your more worldly nature, you're tempted to kind of keep indulging poor behavior in yourself or others. So it's difficult, but you're willing to be inspired more to listen. It's kind of like the High Priestess is kind of like your higher self, and the High Priestess is the counterpart to the Hierophant, which is Taurus energy. I have to walk my truth and stand up for myself and what I believe in. And if I've spoken my truth and love to other people, then there's really nothing more I can do if that's not their truth. And I keep letting love and intuition guide me. What's coming up for the people who harness some high vibe Virgo energy that they might not see coming? Offering people truth and love to work with you. And you might kind of realize that other people harness that energy in a shadowy way, which could be they're hiding, they're still a little bit more about themselves or a lot more about themselves. Because again, Aries energy is about the self. You're either inspired within yourself to work together with people in truth and love, or you're kind of more inspired to have it your way. And they find that emotionally fulfilling. And you know, some of the people you might know in your life, as you get to know them, you know, you can kind of feel like, yeah, I think they're just, you know, it isn't more about working together with people in this way. It kind of, they like it to just be more about them. Or they're still caught up in themselves or something else or someone else. And okay. There could be people that you wonder if they are going to listen to their intuition or not, but eventually, as you keep moving forward in that energy, your intuition tells you it's time to close out a cycle with some people. You know, if other people are kind of tangled up in things that manipulate them, we've all been tangled up in certain ways of thinking or feeling or viewing life and things we indulged in or whatever. It can take years or decades to work through some of those issues, you know? And it's like, I don't have years and decades to wait for other people to figure out what they're going to do. So, the Emperor reverse, and the reason is because of the Knight of Wands. Um, the Knight of Wands is Sagittarius energy, kind of being inspired to wrap your brain around this game of life. And because you were inspired to wrap your brain around this game of life, you know, one thing you could have realized, you can be a good leader in the world, which is what the Emperor in the upright could mean. But other people have to be motivated and inspired to. The Emperor can be about learning all these lessons in life and all four suits of the deck, and the Emperor would be a counterpart to the Empress. Emotionally, we have to be in this energy to be an Emperor energy, and it's kind of realizing that some people aren't your counterpart, and at one time you could have thought they were more your counterpart and seeing that they're not. And also, you know, sometimes we can keep investing in people thinking that they're going to change. And that can be a shadowy Aries energy within ourselves where we're kind of like, oh no, I got this, God. No, yeah, I'm going to keep working on them. Yep, I got this. They are going to change because I am this just and fair and loving and encouraging person. God's like, okay. You know, I've been kind of working with them all their life, and so have all the other people in their life. And they seem to want to do this. But hey, you knock your socks off. It's always one more person in their life trying to get them to see the truth about some things, maybe, or help them. And it's kind of getting out of your ego about it. I can't change other people. All I can do is stay in an energy of love, and they have the free will. And then I'm done, you know, probably taking more action towards those people. Now I stay more, the feminine figures can be where the masculines can talk about taking action, and people were, and then it's like, I'm done. I am moving forward. I have offered them truth and love, and now I am looking to moving forward, listening to love and intuition. There could be a part of me that would like to take action towards those people, but I'm not going to do that because, you know, some people got to learn these lessons. Maybe if you don't think I am just and fair and loving, or that's not what you want, then go live your life and go find some other people and see if you like hanging out with them better. And maybe if you do like it, this other type of way of dynamic, maybe you'll be happy as a clam. I'm not happy in it. So that's my truth. And so I don't view that person as a counterpart to me. Or I could realize some people are more of a King of Wands, still learning lessons in the wand suit. And they haven't learned all four lessons of that stage of life like some other people have, and they're looking for other people who have. And they could realize that some people are still on a journey of learning some lessons that they've already learned. So it's going on that new adventure and closing out that cycle. And as you move forward in that way, and you maybe don't have a counterpart in your life in that way, there could be other people who communicate with you. The King of Wands and the Queen of Wands, and maybe the Emperor, send like the Knight of Wands to communicate a message. And, you know, as you quit investing more time, energy, and effort into people who aren't on the same page as you, it opens you up to meet other people who are more on the same page as you. And as you meet people, I think emotionally you'll listen to your intuition. Are they more of a King of Wands Or are they more of a Knight of Wands themselves? And that can be more just of an immature player, again, who has to learn some of these lessons. And, the people who don't seem to have learned some of those lessons, I think you'll communicate your answer is no, that you're going to kind of stay independent of them. And the people who do seem to be more on that same page would be people that you have this new beginning with as you move forward. And it would be a more abundant in many ways, even though maybe in comparison to some people, like in a worldly sense, it might not look as abundant as some other job, friendship, or relationship, but it is truly abundant if it's inspired and it's balanced and inspired by truth and love. Then it's kind of hitting the jackpot, where other people were kind of just more offering maybe things of the world. What's coming up for some people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Virgo energy that they don't see coming? The Nine of Swords and the Justice card. Why? Because of the Three of Cups. Well, I think the shadowy people are always stressed out with anybody they're in a relationship with, because they're always afraid that the people they're in a relationship with will offer love to their own fears and insecurities to get more balance within themselves in their own Libra energy. And when they get more balance within themselves, they're going to want a more balanced relationship. And they're always afraid that people will see the truth, that they think it's just and fair to emotionally manipulate people. They use their Cancer energy in a shadowy way. And they kind of think it's just and fair. Maybe try to stress people out. Maybe try to use the love people have for them to stress them out. Well, you want this to work, right? You want this to get more just and fair and balanced, right? You keep putting in work and effort to try to make it just and fair. And, oh, by the way, I'm never going to be more just and fair. And they're always afraid that the other people, you kind of look at the Justice card as like the Judgment card, that one day people won't be up in their head about them as much, that they'll call judgment on them. If you want to be in a relationship that's more imbalanced or more for these other reasons of the world, don't seem to care if I'm stressed out, don't seem to care if you're manipulating me, don't seem to care, whatever. Then eventually the other people, the Judgment or the Justice card would be like holding the one sword. They close out a cycle and they come out with the truth. And because some of these people never want to deal with the truth of whatever could manipulate them, or these ways of thinking that they have that they think are just and fair, and they don't want to see that those things aren't just and fair. And again, they could be more manipulated by the world or their ego or their fear or their codependency. And they could always be surprised when other people work through those issues, or even their past pain and heartbreak, or learn to love themselves. And they could wonder how those people do it, but they maybe never ask them, how you seem different. I know one time when I was early 20s, I had known a gal since I was like in 5th grade. And I hadn't seen, I know I maybe saw her here and there. And then after like high school, and then I went over to her house one time, and she just seemed to have a really, I mean, it is one of those things you don't even know what it is, but it's, now that we've done tarot, we'd say it was like her energy was really different, And it's just like, well, she just seems more grounded within herself, more stable and at peace within herself. That's like high vibe Libra energy and high vibe Virgo. And I did ask her, you seem kind of a little different than you used to be. You seem to be more, yeah, I probably just said that. You just seem to feel more comfortable. I don't know what I said. And I think she just said, I just decided not to kind of get up in my head about, some of the things that used to keep me up in my head. And I decided to invest my time, energy, and effort, that's Virgo, into more focusing on the things that I do more enjoy. And and it was kind of like, even though she was a young person who was single, just didn't really have an interest in kind of doing the bar scene and is just kind of like enjoying her life like she would if she was in a relationship. And that's kind of what high vibe people end up doing, I think, is like, I'm just going to live my life aligned with my truth. I'm not going to chase it, kind of believing, I think, the divine has a plan for my life. I can take action more out of pride and ego and a sense of lack, or I can enjoy my life and invest in the things that I do enjoy and my career and my friends and my family, and believe that, things will work out the way they are meant to be. Me, in my more thinking I'm so smart, can try to force things and make things happen out of these other reasons, but I'm not going to do that anymore. And so then it can be, other people see, oh, this isn't someone trying to control things. They're just kind of going with the flow, and other people who just kind of go with the flow instead of people who are all up in their head and worried about wanting to be in a relationship or whatever. It's just willing to go with the flow and get to know people and maybe a little more relaxed energy. But so some shadowy people are probably going to get themselves in another relationship, wondering if they can manipulate those people, wondering if they can control those people, wondering if they've learned enough lessons to try to create the illusion they're more balanced and loving than they really are when they're not. And, they can do things to try to stress out the people they're in a relationship to make them kind of feel left out in the cold. It's all this mind game bullshit. And they'll probably do it again with someone else. And if they're in a relationship right now with some of the people that they think that person would be willing to stay in a relationship with them, and if something about them and their traits or qualities or characteristics they think would make them look like, you know, they have this certain status or image, like they're an emperor in the world, in a relationship with someone who seems like an empress, and they could be in male or female and high vibe energy. The only thing is, you're not a true counterpart to someone if your truth and, high vibe would be from love. And again, they might get a more worldly justice, and uh, if it's a more loving person, eventually they'll see the truth and they'll move on, and probably end up being more in relationships with other people who live more from their mind than their heart, kind of use their emotions manipulatively, and it's more for these things of the world. And they might be a little stressed out about it because, again, it's just like each other manipulating each other. And if people aren't in a relationship for love, why are they in it? The status, the ego, the image. Well, what if someone else comes along who has more status, ego, and image? And some people might now be wondering, should I turn my back on this person? Maybe I could go find someone else who feels left out in the cold. Maybe who has more status or image, or someone who has more fear or insecurity where they would require less of me than this relationship requires of me. You know, you're either inspired to put in work and effort to keep growing and healing and maturing yourself and be less about yourself and the ego and the image of it, being inspired by truth and love. And the other people, it can all be like, well, I don't know. Is this requiring too much of me? Am I getting justice in this situation? Do I have enough status, ego, and image in this relationship? Is it more about me or more about them? I really like it to be more about me. You know? And they're always stressed that if you're not in a relationship for love, that the other people could be emotionally manipulated by someone else, or will go try to emotionally manipulate someone else. Because it's not love. That is not the truth of why they're in it. So there you go, Virgo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.